midlife crisis, tattoos, bikes, beers and cigarettes.
Pardon?
Grossly ill-disciplined weekend.
3 or 4 weeks after the war had ended, the ceasefire, there was a rugby game against Georgia and Russia. So then they're suddenly playing a game against each other. You know, scrapping in Georgia is different to scrapping in the UK or scrapping in America. Or
What do you mean? What is scrapping like?
Well, it's wild. If it has to happen, it's wild.
Yes, that's the problem. Whatever this is, then yeah, whatever this is. This is the Big Jim Show.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into the show, if you haven't already, please can you subscribe to the channel that you're listening on, to the Big Jim Show, and therefore you won't miss any episodes that are released. I'd appreciate that. And also, if you haven't, leave a review. Good, bad, whatever you feel about the show. But either way, I appreciate all of you. And on this episode, I'm joined by a former teammate of mine. We rode the Harleys, he rode a Suzuki up to the Highlands to Thunder in the Glen, and wanted to share our thoughts on that and some of the conversations that we had on a wholesome 24 hours in the Highlands of Scotland. It's the great Roddy Grant. Enjoy. Roddy, we're in Glasgow, mate, after a hell of a weekend.
Hell of a weekend.
Thunder in the Glen, midlife crisis, tattoos, bikes, beers and cigarettes.
Pardon?
Grossly ill-disciplined weekend. Absolutely loved it. And you know, I loved it that much where I said, mate, let's not speak about it. Let's wait and do a podcast again. Second time on the show.
Second time on the show. Do you know what oh, mate, it's been so cool just seeing your growth. Like, we said this on the way up, and it was funny. Okay, I'll go back to the start.
We went deep when we were up there, and you're trying to contextualize straight away my vulnerabilities and my humility in you saying how well things are going for me.
It came from a couple of days out. Getting a bike, fancy Thunder in the Glen. Never heard of it, but I was like, yeah, sounds awesome. Free weekend, let's go. And then met up. Ride up was class. We'll get into it. Got to House of Brewer. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's so refreshing. Like, could speak to you forever. But we got, it suddenly appeared. It was like, this is going to be a very wholesome weekend with, in-depth conversation. We're just going to have a couple beers tonight. Fast forward 4 a.m.
24 beers.
But it was awesome.
So for some context for the listeners, right? So we are in a midlife crisis. It's also known as a second mountain, right? We're not really in the midlife crisis, but we've taken the motorbikes up from Edinburgh to beautiful Highlands. Aviemaw's all right, bit edgy. I wouldn't say it's beautiful, but the ride up was beautiful. We've gone up there. I've gone on a Harley Davidson. Big shout out to West Coast Harley. You've gone up on a bike that looks sick as fuck. But it's a Suzuki.
Suzuki. It's a custom intruder. Been on a few, obviously quite a lot of rides, like in the evenings, let's say, good for the head, dry weather riding. Actually, I didn't realize how cool it was going to be with someone else. Like, we didn't have our Bluetooth headsets on, and we didn't actually really talk on the ride. But it was, the different dynamic was class.
Yeah, it was wicked. So we've got on the bikes and we've driven north from Edinburgh to Aviemaw, where there is an annual event called Thunder in the Glen, where basically it's leather, tattoos, music, motorbikes, everything that we love. And it was an impromptu one. I think I texted you in the week and said, let's do it, because we've not connected in a long time. No. And this is where we'll get into the kind of conversation. Yeah. And I said to you, when we stopped at the House of Brewer, as you said to me, like, how cool is this? And we'll get onto the riding part of it, feeling alive and all of them things. But the human connection is something that I feel as if I need to start engaging with more. And obviously I do a podcast, I travel, things are going well. I'm thinking about what's next after Rugby Pass and World Rugby. But I think part of that is doing cool things with good people. And that's where we stopped halfway and we went, deep into the well about actually, like, how cool is this that we're getting out there and making the effort to do it. I think that's what I was. I said, mate, we should talk about it. Let's do the podcast next week, and we'll actually bring up, what we've done. And so, how long was the ride up?
Yeah, it took us, with our stops, we were probably about 4.5 hours, maybe.
We only stopped for fuel. Like, we'll ride all night. We'll fucking ride all night.
We pushed on. No, it was so cool, Jim, that I found we've always got on and always been mates. But then it's maybe probably the point in our lives as well, midlife crisis, and just covering on a couple of things. So one of the things I loved was, asking how things are going, and like anything, you scratch under the surface and everyone's got some sort of thing they're battling with, whether it's health, whether it's kids, whatever it is. But it was really cool, and I loved it. I've not heard you talk too openly about yourself. You talk a lot about yourself, but more so specifically, like, not being a victim, which resonated a lot with me, and I haven't sorted a lot of things out, but I don't like not at least attempting to try do something different, or help yourself, or try something, or try some sort of mental health aspect. And I was so cool right from the get-go. Like, we were sharing that about each other, and I was like, okay, cool. And immediately we're both like, this is awesome. We could still have a laugh, touch on it. Yeah, but it was really cool how, and a testament to you, how open you were with me, and then vice versa. Like, I was, the whole psychological safety that you share. And it's really cool and encouraging that, guys of our age, I'm a lot younger than you, which we found out. How we could speak about it, and then tie it in with hell of a laughs, seeing you on a bike, giraffe, no face covering because it's in storage.
Yeah, I don't look great on a bike.
Ate a few flies.
I'll be honest, but I was there for it. And I think, for context for the people like listening to this, it's not a mental health podcast. It isn't. It's about interviewing cool people that I like. But along the way of this podcast, and we were talking, we spoke about a load of things, and I'll get into what I shared with you on this. I'm happy to share that. I think it's important that the listeners get to know more about me, which they do. You know what I mean? It's great. And you're up there, right? People listen to the podcast, they love it. It's amazing. It's brilliant for me to hear and to see people come up to me. It's absolutely amazing. So a thank you to everyone who does that. Everyone is so polite. But also, like, the people that we have along the way, and I shared this with you, whether or not it be an Aldo Kane, whether or not it be Luke and Tom Stoltman, whether it be any of the rugby players that we have, whether or not it's Reece Topley, the franchise cricketer, Josh from Black Bear brand. There's a common thread running through this show, which was, I didn't know. I didn't go searching for it. And it was like what it is to be a man and everything that goes into that. And we kind of keep saying midlife crisis. That's because tattoos, motorbikes, leather. Beck's laughing her head off. She's like, who is that? I said, this is the new me. Do you know what I mean? But everyone's going through this kind of something in this next thing. And I've noticed that by interviewing these people, right? That it is a common thread, and how you then deliver that on a podcast is different. It's not an easy thing to talk about. But I was basically, we got into it early, didn't we? Because I said, how fucking cool is this? We're connected through rugby, like we're mates, but we don't connect because we've got kids and life goes fast. I'm on the road and all that. And I said to you, I said, man, I need this. Like, I needed it. I said to you, I'm lonely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm on the road. And you're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like life on the road. And there's this perception, social media. I'm not lonely at home. I've got 4 children, but I miss the company of good men.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
100%.
And that was the point that we got into early, and that's where we started going deep about, obviously.
I suppose on that, we're both curious anyway, in terms of topics, people. We both find interesting people fascinating. And probably everyone that listens to a podcast does as well. That's probably why we listen to that type of podcast. And so much of it is so much of it, you know, I always think like psychology. If someone explains something to you in psychology, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. It's not like, I don't know, science, that it's something totally new. Everyone, I think, inherently knows it. And then, you know, reading everything like, you know, Tribe books and Sebastian Junger and everyone, they all say the same. You know, you need a solid group of friends, a support network, and everything. So it's not as if I didn't know that would be helpful, but like life is so busy and you got to juggle priorities. But I came away from it realizing like, man, I need to do that more, like with good mates and actually in my life, how important like just a good mate is. So riding a bike as well. Because we're not on microphones and things, you're either in complete flow state and you're just calm, and for me anyway, I'm not thinking about much, but then there's other parts where I'm like, oh, I've just had an awesome conversation with you. Like, I've not laughed in a 24-hour period like that than ever before. And then so somehow I just found myself chuckling away on the bike thinking, oh, I must bring that up, or I want to hear about that story with Jim, or yeah. And yeah, it's funny. It just hit so many good buttons. Yeah. And also coming back from it now has really stimulated, I suppose, self-reflection on being like, oh, it's taken me a few days to get over it, but more of it. Like we straight away were like, oh, we need to get another coffee in. It doesn't have to be, you know, a ride up to Aviemore and
25 beers and 3 packs of cigarettes.
Transylvania, and wake up next to your feet hanging off the bed, be confronted with a verruca, contract a verruca.
Probably, yeah. I've had it for 2 years, so yeah. It ain't going away. But that's the thing with riding bikes, right? And, you know, Becky, my wife, naturally dangerous, all of these things. And she'll never understand, right, the connection that you can have with yourself as a former athlete, right? And when you talk to anyone, right, and you'll speak to people you coach, you've coached some of the best rugby players in the world, some of the greatest athletes, you've been one. And that feeling of being alive, right, you know, that true feeling deep inside where you're running out into a stadium and you're doing a contact sport, you're doing one of the most difficult sports in the world, and the feeling of being alive, and then that being switched off, that's effectively what happens. And then everything that you're left with, right? And you'll know, you see players, I talk to ex-players, it's tough on the other side. Do you know what I mean? It's tough not just mentally and what's around the corner, but physically as well. Your body's absolutely fucked. And I think that naturally what you're looking for is the next thing. Like, what is the next thing? Like, how do you ever get that feeling again, which you'll never get? But for me, riding on the bike, I feel alive. Do you know what I mean? I feel locked in. I feel engaged. There's an element of danger, like it was when we played. And that is as close as I can get to that life that other things in my life don't give me. Like training, yeah, I feel good when we train and stuff like that. And that's where I'm like, I should do it more. And then you do it with someone else, or you do it with mates, because that's what we grew up in. We grew up with positive men. We grew up with connection, experiences, and all of these things. And it's been too long. And I think just going up there, it was 24 hours. I looked at it, it weren't long. We were in and we caused chaos and we were fucking out.
I felt like we were stuck in a vortex at times.
I know. Yeah, we saw Richie Gray on the way back.
Oh, good.
He looked great. He's still going in Japan.
Still good.
Good man he is.
Solid dog as well.
Good man. He's a good man.
He's a good man. And it's funny. So one thing I've, I suppose, obsessed with. So like, instead of being a subject matter expert, I'd say I'm a subject matter enthusiast of like longevity. I find it fascinating, Jim. Like longevity in anything. So we've got friends who've in military or been in military, and that's always fascinated me. Rugby, you see guys with career, like, yeah. Do you know how many games you've played out of interest, like pro games? You'd be 300-ish.
No, it was 248, something
so
like
heaps.
That.
Like, not many people do that, but I find that fascinating, both from a physiological sense, probably because I retired at 28 with a knee injury, so I had that for a while of being like, I almost had my identity in that because never missed a game really for injury. Then suddenly I was like, oh no, I'm not durable. Whereas that was almost my, one of my best attributes, I suppose. But I find that fascinating now is like how long people can go for. And it's not easy as well. Like I always think like rugby, playing, coaching, like especially now with coaching, let's say, or friends who've been in the finance world or whatever would come over and they'd watch a game, you take them into the changing rooms and see the facilities and they see the match night, which is the pinnacle of the week. And I always get this. It's like, oh my God, how lucky are you? Dream job. And I'm like, wow, there's pros and cons to it, that the longevity piece I find is fascinating. That at the end of it, then what? And, it's got to mean everything to everyone in doing it. But that's also what I find interesting with you. And the more you get to know someone, the more you get an insight into maybe how that longevity was there. I don't know where that came from, that longevity piece.
Well, I mean, in our sports, it was because we saw Richie Gray. That's why he's 37 and he's playing
still going
in Japan.
And the highest level. It's so for me, I think it's so cool seeing him go, but almost... I think of even more of him for having that longevity. Yeah, I know how hard it is.
Yeah, I know. But with Richie, and I say this with all due respect.
He was in a bib and you were training.
Yeah. I tell you now, I mean, I reckon he's a freak. He was a freak athlete, an unbelievable athlete. And maybe a similar analogy to Will Skelton. So Will Skelton was operating at 6 out of 10 at Sarries, and he was still one of the best players. And then we saw for Australia, he took that up to 8 or 9. Okay, and he had the bit between the teeth and the fire in the eyes. I've never seen Richie Gray with the fire in his eyes. And I think what a scary proposition, but I don't think you get to 37 if you've got the fire in the eyes and you're that good an athlete. All right? And I'm not saying he's going through the motions, okay, because he is so much better than that. But I always looked at Richie Gray with the fame, and we said after, I said to you, I was like, mate, this lad could have been the most famous rugby player in the world. Like, he was on the cusp of that in Scotland. He didn't want it. And he was just, I think, that mentality, but also that's given him the longevity. I don't think you can play at that level of chaos, or speed and power every single week. And he kind of just filtered out, went through the motions, then came back into the Scotland team, was great in the line out, was good in the carry. People make good careers out of that. Like that's what they do. Yeah. But I always felt with Richie, there was something. There's a bit more in him. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that has given him the longevity. He was taller than me. Richie was taller than me.
Yeah.
He was an incredible athlete.
He is a big man.
Yeah, he's aging well as well. Some people don't. Big Al Kellogg, he didn't age well.
Richie Gray, he's still got a lovely hairpiece on him.
Yeah, but just back to the riding stuff, I think for me, I need to do it more. Like, I want to do it more. I was in Colorado, had the opportunity to go out on the open road, but it's when you're with the kids, you've got the wife. I think about my mortality so much more. I'm so much more risk averse now than I used to be. But then I go back to it when I didn't feel unsafe, right? I didn't. I felt locked in. I felt alive. I felt good.
Yeah.
Did I look good or not? No, I didn't.
What's the Dumb and Dumber? Oh, you looked better than that.
Yeah, I know.
No, we look cool. I don't think we probably performed as well. That also was actually really nice as well. We both had this. I don't think even we spoke about how we're gonna ride up there, but we were chilled. Didn't overtake a single person, and it was nice. Like, we were in no rush. I also think like Scotland's beautiful. Like, particularly beautiful. And even there, speaking of Richie and, where you'd been, going up to the Highlands. And every time you go there, you're like, this is properly beautiful. Like, it generally sort of shifts the soul. You're like, why don't we do this more often? But that's also where I think it probably doesn't need to be as formal as a plan. But it re-emphasized to me is like, one, have good quality time with good mates, but also go to places that are good for the soul to look at, fresh air. That's definitely what
Well,
I've
you
taken
were
away from-
pointing on the way, weren't you? Like, look at that there. Like, look at this.
You were pulling out of the flat Earth graffiti on some of the signs saying you're a believer.
Of course, yeah. Well, I was deep in the thoughts. I was like, is the Earth flat or not? There was a bit of rain. It felt like I was getting tattooed in the face. There was wasps going under the helmet, and I weren't fucking flinching. But Scotland to
Knees
right,
out above your ears.
yeah, I know. I mean, big shout out to Harley again. I mean, I think Harley are a brilliant company. I actually talk about Harley in a minute. But Scotland as a country is amazing, and I've been out into the States. I keep saying that in Colorado, and Austin, Texas means you're going to take you out there in November. America's brilliant. I love America, but to the core of me and to the soul of me, I love Scotland.
Yeah.
And we don't celebrate it enough. I do, because I grew up in the arse end of England in a shithole called Coventry. So that's why I live in Edinburgh. I live in Scotland. I live in Edinburgh because I love it. I appreciate for what it is. And even when I go to America and you say, oh, where do you live? Oh, Edinburgh. Oh, yeah. Do you know Jimmy? I know Jimmy. But they love Scotland. They love the history. They love the soul that it has. And then, as we know, having ridden up the hills, the mountains, the Highlands, I don't think people appreciate it enough. Like, I've been to New Zealand, saying there you go there, and it's like, well, actually, this is like Scotland. This is what it is. But I think people don't appreciate it as much.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Top three things that you enjoyed from the trip.
Yeah, being on the bike again.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've ridden that far.
Yeah.
So actually being at one with the bike and the road and that feeling of being locked in, I'd say that would have been number one. No, it wouldn't. Being with you would have been number one. The crowd just smiling.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and having that connection
Yeah.
again. You know, that would have been there or thereabouts as number one. Needed a good time. Been a long holiday, a long time away with the kids. Being a father, it was good to be a mate again.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that, being on the road, and I'd say what the third one would be. Talking to people up there, not about rugby necessarily. I know there's a few people chatting about rugby, but chatting to people there about something I'm interested in. Tattoos, bikes, the ride up, different conversation. Because I think that comes to the point where you were talking, not smoke and mirrors. I've got a great life, okay? I've got a great life. I've got great people around me. But I'm on my own a lot. And if I do talk to random people, it's about rugby, right? And rugby's consumed my life and it's been great to me. I get that. But I'm interested in other things. So being there and speaking to people about other things and watching the music, I love music, and we were dancing and singing and picking up old ducks off the floor who were slipping over and falling themselves over you. It was great to just have a different stimulation.
Yeah, it was class.
I suppose.
But that's also like, what really came across is, and you've always had it, which is why I think you've had success with, part of the many reasons, on your podcast, on this platform, why people want to listen to you effectively is you're an absolutely genuine person. Like, what you see is what you get. I'll go back to like playing with you at Edinburgh. There's been very few rugby players that I've played with, let's say. So I'd say you and Mark Robertson, out of all the people, you know, like just this effervescent energy, but also very genuine. So you can connect with this James King, effervescent personality, but got layers to it, like, and a curious mind. So, but you said with your podcast now, the people you're getting on are interesting people. That I see that, and I really enjoyed that as well. So outside, was it the Winking Owl, first place we went to? We get outside and queues everywhere. So we're sort of half keeping a table outside because it was chaos. It was like it was chaos outside. So I was holding fort at a table, and then there were some Canadians, lovely Canadian people next to, just got chatting away as well to them, and found out they're from Alberta, and then got on about, one of my best mates, the guy Dan Barr, Canadian, played for Canada. Someone knew his dad who was in the Mounties, and it was just immediate connection. It was class, and it was really interesting. We've both been around, say, well-known people or people who have somewhat of fame, And it's such a crazy subject. I really enjoyed actually being up there, one with you. You took all the heat away from me. So you could see you coming a mile off. But it was so cool especially having kids now in the early part of the evening. You know, it was a really friendly atmosphere. Like there were loads of bikers, some crusty, some not. And on the face of it could be intimidating. But actually the energy there was awesome. Like really friendly people. But there were kids around as well at this stage of the evening, and all of them would come up and see you. One, because you're massive, but two, some of them had been listening to the podcast. You'd get asked for photos all the time, which you're awesome with. Yeah, sweet, we're in. But a lot of them would from the podcast.
Crazy.
Outside the pizza hut that we got our pizza from, you're getting mobbed by photos. A lot of the moms were trying to get photos, and you were like, "Do you know my name?" And they're like, "Oh no, sorry, I don't." And you're like, "It's Richie Gray, yeah, down for a photo." It was. I really enjoyed that. I was almost the way there in the chair.
Georgia, tell me about Georgia more, or tell the listeners about Georgia. So you've been coaching in Georgia with Richard Cockrell, who we were FaceTiming, and you were shouting horrible stuff at him.
Hang on. I've got a good relationship with him. So we both do. But it was, it was, so Georgia, mate, honestly, such a cool place. Like Tbilisi, if you've ever got the chance
I've been to Tbilisi.
Have
Tell
you?
the listeners, Barbarians, I went there,
of course you did.
and we got run out with Bobby Skin stuff. It was chaos. I loved it. It was chaos.
So Tbilisi, it's an unbelievable city. So it's quite far to get to, which potentially makes, as in a city for a city break, harder to get to. But such a cool city. So loads of history. What I find interesting now, especially with the Ukraine situation, Georgia were at war with Russia in 2010, so recent. And that's shaped a lot of their culture, the people there. But beautiful city, nice river running through it, in a valley, mountains all around, the Caucasus Mountains all around it, Dagestan's just across the border. A really interesting history over a period, loads of Ottoman empires invaded, Persians, and they've got a really cool statue, which is at basically the top of the valley that looks over the city. That's almost an angel, but a woman holding a sword and a goblet. And the message is, come with us. If you're coming into Georgia, into Tbilisi, come with us. We'll share our wine, oldest wine in the world. That's where wine was created. Share our food, or you come in a fight. And if you come in a fight, we'll fight. So it's a really cool culture, and that's ingrained in them. Very, very strong on tradition, strong Orthodox Christian community, players, a lot of tradition and hierarchy in the players. They've all done wrestling as kids, all of them, as like their number one sport. So they're all handy and can grapple. Julian Salvi found out the hard way with a fly half. Really cool culture, really cool place. And very respectful. You go out for dinner. They have shots of vodka as their toasts. They will have 1 million of them. And still it's utter control. No one over talks anyone else because it's respect to hear what someone has to say. But yeah, it was a really cool place. Totally different skill set, I suppose, as well with coaching. That it's quite a few of them will speak English. A lot of them play in France in the top 14. So there's 44 Georgian props playing in the top 14 in France. So a lot of them are in France. But translating into Georgian from English, it was interesting. But yeah, really cool. Couldn't say enough good things about it.
Any Georgian that I've had interactions with, Turk Montpellier to Momuk or Gogzi, used to call me the old dog.
That's a good compliment.
I know, I'll take that.
Because he was hard as nails.
Oh, he was an absolute beast. The king of Georgia.
Yeah. So he came out we played the Springboks as our last test as well, which was an awesome experience. He came out as well. So yeah, got to meet him and speak to him for a bit as well. Still Yeah, big man, still in shape. Yeah, tough as nails.
And that's the thing with Georgia and that part of the world, like Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
The history there is gnarly, right? Generally involving the Russians. And I don't want to go down policy. I don't know enough about it, about Russia, Ukraine, and the countries that border and everything around that. It's, you know, a part of this actually, where we are in the world right now, and all the negativity stems from the fact that there's wars going on. You know, all social media and all of these things, but there's a lot of bad shit happening in the world. I was saying to you about the Oasis concert. It felt like everyone was loving each other. I know some people were getting flatlined outside after a few beers and stuff, but that happens. I get that. I'm there for it. If there's something that needs to be settled, do it the old school way. But politically, where we are in the world right now, but also like that part of the world where that kind of chaos and drama and war and horrible things are happening. And Georgia, I forget that they were a part of that, weren't they? And you said 2010 as close as that.
Yeah.
Do they have any, not without speaking for them, but when you're there, do you feel like there's any ill will to what's going on, or the fact that it's in a different language? Because Russia were right as a rugby team as well.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name. Who was
geographically is interesting that it borders Russia, so it's right there, and it was actually really cool seeing social side and the economy side of things. That there's a lot of Russians come into Georgia, escape the draft. There's a lot of building now because of it, and yeah, just the dynamic of that. I think there's an underlying knowing how close you are to it, that everyone's aware of it, but no, not really. I mean, one of the interesting things was, so as I said, in 2010, there was a really cool picture going about of when they were at war, everyone was fighting in the war. Like some of the players were fighting. And then it was something like 3 or 4 weeks after the war had ended, the ceasefire, there was a rugby game against Georgia and Russia. So then they're suddenly playing a game against each other. That sort of culture or adversity creates a different type of person, or it's so different.
Tough people.
Tough people. Like, scrapping in Georgia is different to scrapping in the UK or scrapping in America. Or it's
what do you mean? What is scrapping like?
Well, it's wild. If it has to happen, it's wild. So I think, and all the guys will have wrestled and fought, and whereas, let's say here or in the UK, I mean, how many people have actually been in a scrap? So there's a lot in road rage. There's no road rage there. None.
There's none in America either.
There's hooting and things, but it's more just like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't see any road rage, but probably because people understand the cost of violence or scrapping, so it's really peaceful. It's really safe in Tbilisi.
Ilie Topuria, the UFC fighter, is from Georgia, but he's Spanish. I can't work it out. He lives in Spain, but he's Georgian. He is the current. He's a champion. I don't know what weight is he?
So middleweight, gone up to middleweight.
Okay.
He's so impressive. There's a great documentary on YouTube about his life that goes into it. That I might butcher it here, but he was born in Germany to Georgian parents, and then went to Georgia maybe when he was about 6. The war broke out. His parents then moved to Spain to try, make money so they could then get them out of Georgia, but left him, his brother, who's his coach now, with his, I think it was 2 sisters, and the sisters essentially brought them up. So they were living on their own with no parents from like 7-year-olds till 16, I think it was, maybe, when they went to Spain. So you talk about a hardy, resilient person, then they could afford to get him to Spain, then they moved to Spain. So that's where his Spanish side comes from. But yeah, and obviously would have seen a lot of trauma and bombings. I think he was from Rustavi, which is another city that was also heavily shelled. But yeah, unbelievable story, resilience, make it happen, different language, getting into Spain, couldn't speak any Spanish, learnt it, and yeah, it's so impressive. I love watching him. He's my favorite UFC fighter.
Yeah,
at the
he's
moment.
wicked. Yeah, him, I love watching.
Marab Diashvili.
Marab Diash.
He's also a champion.
Yes, he is. And then you've got Hamzat Shemaev, who beat my boy.
Yeah, Dricus.
Dricus.
My boy as well.
I knew that was going to be a tough fight for Dricus.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Did you see Dricus's post yesterday?
Yes, I did, yeah.
How good is that?
Oh, mate, he's a wicked man.
Legend.
I know he's led by faith, and with that gives you a sense of grounding and humility, and you can contextualize your next steps when you have that underpin life of God and faith. I get that. But he is a good man. Yeah, I think he knew that was going to be tough for him as well. I mean, they called him the bogeyman. He snapped Robert Whittaker's jaw in half.
Yeah. But
he's
also,
the real deal.
Fair play, Dricus, then, wanting it. He chose him, did it. But his post was class. Like, how often do you see, well, the answer's not very, but how often do you see pro sportsmen in an individual sport, in a combat sport, being like, 100%, no excuses, best guy won, but I'm going to be back.
Well, the good guys are now rearing their head, aren't they? And this comes back to positive role models and positive masculinity. We have been consumed and been fed this poison and this toxic shit. And as a father, I know you've got girls, which has its own things. But as a father of boys who played a physical sport, who was violent, who was aggressive, I try and lead the way now in positivity and try and give them tools. But when they're being fed Conor McGregor, for example, fucking horror show.
Yeah, Andrew
Do you
Tate.
know what I mean? Andrew Tate. But then when you look at sports like UFC, fastest growing sport, and it's chaos and it's violent, and the build up around it and stuff like that is just another world. And you have guys like Dricus, and you've got guys like Ilia Topuria. You've got good dudes. Like, it's really important, because now the sport isn't just sport. Sport is social media. Probably more so. More people are consuming it on there. So, yeah, I'm the same. When I saw Dricus' post, I was like, fair play. You know what I mean? Like, how you go from being in the state of mind, like he spoke before fights, he's like, I'm willing to die. And he means it. I'm willing to die or kill if I have to. That's the mindset that these killers have. Like, they can kill people. And then for him to come out with that.
People crave that, like authentic people, and it resonates with people. And you've got no doubt he is honest in what he's saying, whereas other sportsmen maybe, aren't. But I think it's classed by him. But, and as well, I think, difference with 2 girls and 2 boys, like, the psychological literature there is like, girls real important to be around, like a good man and a good example. Boys, psychological literature and the development side is be around as many good men as you can, because as a dad, you can't be it all. They have to see loads of different
100%,
aspects.
for sure.
I think the positive on social media and podcasts and various things is people having a voice. There's obviously a negative side, as you see others you don't, but at least there's now a place that you can highlight to JJ, like, oh, have a look at this guy, or go down a YouTube rabbit hole on this guy. He's awesome. And, it's a steering or a showing. You can't expect him to take in whatever you give him, but if you can show him the way, and I think that's so cool, having the guys like Dricus and what you've done as well, Jim, like with the interviews of Sia Khaleesi, the powerful interviews with people, and what you don't know is what you don't know, right? That you can only expose yourself to as many different people as you can, I think. Like, we know some really cool people, like, who've been high achievers, but that's almost a byproduct of their personalities. So I'd love it at one stage on almost doing a charity, I suppose, for boys, to essentially be around mentors as such, but in an informal setting. And I've asked, a few friends already, and they're like, yeah, would love to. That's a great idea. Especially boys. I see that now with girls at the school and boys at the school. Everyone's got, it's a tough place to be now.
There's a confusion, isn't there, for young boys about how they should be, how they should act, the stuff that's being fed to them about what's normal, about what's not normal, how you show affection to women is a dying trait because it's social based, it's selfies, it's WhatsApp communication, and there's not that natural bond. You think back in the day, there were so many different role models, weren't there? I know we spoke about your father when we were on the ride, and I've spoken about my lack of relationship with my father, but there was coaches, there was other men in my life that were role models, and just the importance of that, because it's not just dad. Dad has one way of doing it. And you know what? The kids see probably the worst version of, not of a man, but you're busy looking after the other kids, you're out there, you're working, you're hustling, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're dry. Sometimes they need that other perspective, and they also need that other, let's specifically man, to see the best in them or to discipline them. And I've got no issue. I've got a mate in Colorado who's an outdoorsman, brilliant. Like, we played centre for US, and JJ spent a few days with him and his son. They're out there fishing and whatever. And I said, like, if he's out, like, whatever, mate, I want you to tell him. Like, I want him to see the other version, the other side of what discipline means, you know. And I think it's super important, something that's been completely lost. And I don't know how they're doing it in schools, and now it's all about they can't just tell them straight. It's all about how you feel. Work through your go for a walk. You know, it's a minefield.
Oh, it's terrifying. And I've got terrible flaws and faults as well. And so yeah, that's what I sort of struggle with. Is the direction for them, and am I saying the right thing? Or we spoke a bit about it at the weekend, like your relationship with your dad. But same with mine, like best mates with my dad, most amazing bloke ever, and died a few years ago. And then so Blair Athol, so part of his ashes are in Blair Athol, so drove past that, so that was really cool as well. But then I think like, it would be awesome if my dad was around. Like, that's a great example of a man. Or so it's
how
funny
important,
with kids.
how, from your perspective, your relationship with your dad, if you're happy to share this.
One from the support, or just questions. Like, I'd ask my dad at the time, like playing and advice or life advice. So there's definitely that element of it. There's also the element of, like, if he was around, and maybe I would have listened to him of being the voice of like a kick up the backside type of thing, maybe. But also it's probably made me realize not having him around is then, and we spoke about it the weekend, was how important actually having a good male friends are with me. So that's made me, through the realization of loss or lacking of something, you realize how much you need something. And it's probably not until like things go tits up or you're in a dark place to then realize what light you need. So that was one for me, is that's then what I've been, and again, like, I'm fully aware of things, probably what I need, like being around mates or good people, but it's like anything, I'm aware of it, I just need to do it better, and I'm no master at it. But that's something that's come out of it for me now, I suppose, with time reflected, is, it doesn't have to be your dad, but I think as long as there's that sort of person, friend, whatever, in your life, mentor, is a good thing for you as an individual. But I think that'll help me with kids as well. Like Mark Robertson, my best mate so he's got 2 girls as well. And often, and no kids are the same. But just having someone else, or hearing his examples and how he does things, or it almost inwardly challenges you to be better, I suppose.
This moment in time now, because of social media, because of war, because you're getting thrown stuff on your algorithm, on your phone, you don't know what's true, you don't know what's fake, you don't know what's AI. It's a tough time to live. And we were chatting about Oasis, so you asked me how it was, and I keep saying to everyone, it was one of the best 2 hours of my life because it felt like you were back in the 90s, cigarette in hand, beer in hand. Couldn't even see Liam and Noel. Fucking couldn't even hear them because we were all
You couldn't
singing.
even see.
I
Tell
couldn't
that
even
to the
see.
person standing behind you.
Yeah.
They definitely couldn't see.
They couldn't see a thing, and it didn't matter because there was a desperation in the community that wanted that sense of peace and simple existence and music and like the song Cigarettes and Alcohol, just nothing more. Not that that's the way forward, by the way, cigarettes and alcohol, because the next day you feel like death.
Yeah.
But in that moment,
I love that you said that, but to me that resonates even more with you saying that is followed on our conversation of you exploring loads of things in America for, you know, to make you feel better and health and creativity and finding that peace out there. You've looked at multiple things of not being a victim and not feeling like I'm drowning and I'm just going to stay drowning.
Yeah. But on that specifically, if people are wondering what you're talking about, it's my transition away from rugby wholeheartedly. I'm still going to do the rugby pod. So when you're talking about like what am I looking for and what were we speaking about specifically with that, that's because I've been at Rugby Pass for 9 or 10 years. I set up the business, went to World Rugby, left World Rugby on decent terms, but it wasn't my choice to go. It was kind of there's some changes happening, and I think having that emotional intelligence and also not, why have they got rid of me? I set up Rugby Pass, it's my business, which I felt at times, not when I was at World Rugby, but when I was in the business that I set up and we're publishing content, and my desperation at times to grow rugby and take it into cultural relevancy and for it to not have a second chapter. I did feel like annoyed about it, but I'm at the point now where it's like, right, what is next? And having that, like we were talking about the US specifically, or hanging around with good people, you take inspiration. Energy breeds energy. And that's where this podcast, like having Josh on, like me and Josh, who I had on the last episode that went out, we're going to collaborate on doing this New Jersey that I've showed you, which is going to be really cool. And that's something completely different. Who knows where that's going to go? And I was inspired by his story. He's riding bikes. He's created a business. He's a lone wolf. It's fucking cool to be able to do that. And I think that that's where my kind of mind is now, is trying to find something away from rugby that I can have full accountability for. I don't mean that's making a bloody jersey and I'm accountable and that's my life, but collaborating with good people and taking inspiration from them.
And I think that's cool. Like that's two playing career, Rugby Pass career, let's say, they're big parts of your life that are intertwined with personality. That's why you're good at them as well, drive and everything. But like anything, that's also identity gets put into that. And yeah, mate, I think it's so cool that then you're positive about it afterwards. What's next?
Well, there you go. But both of them things, specifically my career in rugby, wasn't a job. It was the same for you. It was an existence. It was a purpose. It was a way of life. And for me, I didn't realise it at the time, but that's what Rugby Pass was. It was more than a job. And that was probably to my demise in the end, because I was married to it. I didn't think about how much I get paid or wanted more money. It was about, I had a job to do. I loved what I did, telling stories, doing interviews. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing to be so emotionally connected to something. I mean, clearly it's a good thing, right? Because it succeeded. The same with the Rugby Pod. We didn't do the podcast to make money. It weren't like, right, we're going to do this and hopefully we'll get a deal with Spotify and hopefully we'll make money. And this episode is brought to you by Continent, whoever it is, right? Being facetious, being a bit of a dickhead. But it's not. So it was never a commercial play. And I'm like, do I need my next thing to be able to do that? Because that's a rare, right? Because most people are paid by the man or the woman. You pay, but the saying is paid by the man. And you go into an environment where you're getting paid, right? Most people do that. I've never really had to do that because I've been so, whatever club I was at, I'm going to go, yeah, I'm getting paid, but I will fucking run through a wall for you, except Fabien Galtier. But I will run through a wall for if I believe in you, forget, it doesn't matter what I'm getting paid, doesn't matter what he's getting paid, I will do that. I give him my word. And I could look in the mirror and be like, I did that. I did that in my career.
Sack any mall that's set up.
I will take a maul to the floor and I will charge down any fucker. But it was the same for rugby pass. And I'm at that point now in my life, just to kind of clear up what you're talking about in reference to our discussion. That's what it's been like for 9 years with that job that I've had. I no longer have that job. So I'm like, the next thing that I look for, I need to have that same passion. Otherwise, I don't think it will succeed.
But you will. Yeah, you will, and you'll find it, and it's like anything. There's loads of options and opportunities, and you get into it, and the hard parts, the navigating the bits when it's that transition period, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's finding what's right. And I think, manifestation. I mentioned that with Stephen Wilson Jr. I manifested that opportunity to happen over time. Messaging back and forth, like tagging, sharing his music. And I've always believed, you have to make shit happen. No one's going to, maybe this is a negative way of saying it, especially with what we're talking about now. No one really cares about you as much as you should care about yourself and what you do. If I say, oh, how are you feeling? Oh, no, I know you care. Like, you do care. I get that. And he cares or she cares, but no one's going to do it for you. It's, you're going to go home with it. It's about you. I've always said that. It's about what you will do. You have to make it happen. Whatever it is, you have to make it happen. I truly believe that. It's going to be cool. Whatever's next, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. What's on next for you? You're coaching Glasgow now. Let's just share it with people asking what's Roddy Grant up to.
Coaching Glasgow.
So you were at Ulster. How did that end? I didn't even ask you that. Like most things, not great. Mutually.
So then coached Georgia for...
why do you not want to talk about Ulster? You don't want to talk about it? Was it not great? You don't need to share it.
No, it was... I coached...
None of these things end well.
Coached for 5 years there. Yeah. Rugby, pro sport, like...
Tough club to coach, Ulster.
It's a long time.
Yeah. A massive expectation.
Yeah.
Always been a weird club, a club that I'm really interested in, Ulster. The Northern Ireland, not Ireland. Yeah, the political...
And a community is like a big... And that's what was cool, going from, say, Scotland, which, I'm sure you would have found with Saracens, let's say, or Montpellier, Gloucester, like a big... fan base with a big expectation was a different dynamic that was cool to be part of. But yeah, so left there and then Georgia.
I love how he's grinning when he says we ain't going there. Yeah, got Georgia.
Georgia and then Glasgow. So yeah, just pre-season with Glasgow. Man, yeah, so impressed. Really, really, Franco Smith.
Everyone, even Richie said that. I was like, Richie, really I don't want to talk about rugby. And he was talking about Frank. I was like, all right, let's talk about rugby.
Yeah, really impressive bloke. Not afraid to do things differently, which in rugby, like everyone does the same things, really. Like tactics might be a little bit different, but generally your training week's the same. Your team meetings generally are the same, different even clips and things.
But even play this, most teams are trying to play the same now as well.
Totally. So it's been really cool.
Give us a couple of bits about.
It's so hard to even.
He's religious, isn't he? And he's South African, right? So I had Johan van Gram on the show, and he was a dude. We loved him, loved his energy, and I imagine him and Franco are very similar.
And I think so. I know Johan a little bit just from when he was at Munster, and I think they're very similar. But I suppose it resonated with me with having grown up in South Africa. My school coach, first team coach, guy Tony Richter, awesome bloke, kept a big part of my life and kept in touch with him loads. Whenever I'd go back to the school, I'd see him, go out for dinner with him, and so he's another one of the good men in my life that passed away. So he was helping his daughter change a tire on a motorway. No. Parked behind her, came out, helped, and a lorry went into the back of his car, which then killed them both. But awesome bloke. But I find, maybe because it's that as well, but I suppose they're not afraid. So Franco, not afraid to talk and reference life you know, not just rugby, not just motivation for rugby, just for games or, there's
the human spirit, the human touch.
Yeah, and there's more connection to that. Different weeks, like as in how the session plan goes, it's really cool. And I believe in anything in life's a spectrum. So in the rugby sense, there's, you know, sports scientists, and then there's, well, in the sports science setting, let's say, there's art and there's science, there's data, there's very process driven, but then there's also the science part, which is, you know, almost the magic ingredient. And like anything, it's very hard to be on either end of a spectrum. It's somewhere in the middle or wherever you pitch it, you know, but it's like the Roger Bannister thing. If something's not been done before, it needs to be done differently. His coach did things very differently with Roger Bannister. So the makeup of how it's done there is very, very different. It's a really cool atmosphere. And it's always hard to know with coming in to an already successful club, but, you know, almost the chicken and the egg type of thing. But there's success there. So the players are confident, but they're really good. They're really good blokes. Seem really mature, like out of all the teams I've been in. Obviously, the tone's set from Franco. But yeah, really driven, but really mature, I would say. A mature,
what's your role
mature
there?
Environment. So an assistant coach, that's also where, bear with me, so that's also what's cool with Franco. So he's really keen on having a collective approach, I suppose, as opposed to siloed coaches. There's pros and cons to everything. But I really like this, that it's a really collective approach. Like the coaches all essentially are coaching together. They need to have the right people, and, you know, it'll take the management of us as coaches to do that and make sure we're all, you know, in harmony. But it's really cool that, yeah, everyone's doing a bit of everything, you know, bit of breakdown, bit of forwards, it's a collective approach, which not many teams do. Well, hardly any teams do that I'm aware of. It's generally always the attack coach, the defense coach, the forwards coach, which has its pros and cons as well, accountability and all the rest. But it's been refreshing from that point of view as well. That it's a very collective approach. Players have a lot of say as well, which is cool. They're really player led in terms of that, but it's the culture of being mature, I suppose. There's, you know, there's no rules, but there's responsibility as such.
Yeah, well,
it's the easiest way. It's so hard to say what's different, because even me, I'm like,
success. They've had success, and with that is experience. It's just a different feel.
And the big thing, Jim, like we were talking about it, where rugby is now, like teams are under the pump financially across all competitions, as we all know. So recruitment's always it's heightened to getting the right people for the right price and budgets and all the rest of it. But actually, to develop your own, bring young players through, I think, you know, from the outside, let's say last season looking in, like Franco did an amazing job with getting younger guys through. And well, for his 3 years he's been here, this is his 4th year, he's done an awesome job at getting younger players through and playing, and they're playing effortlessly, really. So, and that's a real skill.
That's the measure of the coach,
clearly,
isn't it?
Of everything, of the culture, of
of
the talent ID, the management of that, the management of the senior players, or the, you know, with these guys, it's like, I think the most complex thing in pro sport is effectively bringing through good players.
And that's especially now more than ever because of the budgets in rugby. And who knows where the club game is going to go. And this is where Wales, for example, you're seeing there's nothing coming through. I'm not speaking out of turn. That it's obvious to see. And the quality and the investment and the time. And that's where the very best coaches come to the fore, don't they? And the club game's never been tougher. I was chatting to my agent about it. He's like, Jim, it is so difficult out there. Even the coaches like Jordan Murphy, I was chatting about him to my other mate the other day, was like, what's Geordie doing now? He's like, he's coaching the school. I said, one of the greatest Leicester players. He was the Leicester director of rugby. Can't get back in. Because of just how congested the club game is now with money and the quality of coaches about and the age pro. Like they're all young. How old are you now?
38.
38. You're all young. I know Franco's
Yeah.
not, and the bosses generally need to have that experience. But Phil Dowson, Northampton, Skivington, even Borthwick. Yeah, Sam Vesti there as well. Lee Blackett at Bath. I'm trying to think. Leo Cullen. So you're still a youngish. I mean, what would he be? 45? It's not like before where a lot of the coaches were proper old school. No. And I do believe now more than ever, and you said it there, and this is why the South Africans do well, right? And this ain't going out as a clip because it'd blow up. But the South African, the human touch. Yeah. That is what I'm drawn to. People are like, why are you always getting the South African? Like, what is it? And for me, it's because I love South African people because you can sit in front of chaos and aggression and athleticism and presence, but it's the human connection, whether that's religion, whether or not that is a life in a country that is trouble. I don't know what it is, but you see that, the transfer from the coaches in the sport or whoever within any team, if you have that element, whether or not it be the players. You know, I said to Deeks, he's like, oh, we're struggling at Leicester. What do we do? I said, the Oracle, I tell you. Bring in some Sappers. Sail, exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's good. The human touch, right? The human connection.
Yeah.
We've gone deep, Roddy.
Mate, it's been awesome.
We have. Yeah, should we wrap it up? Let's go. Let's get back to the kids.
I really enjoyed that, Jim. Thanks for
Tell
having
them
me.
to subscribe, please, will you?
Please, will you subscribe?
To the Big Jim Show, but it's not about me. Right.